My name is Claire Bennett, and I died 3 years ago. At least, according to the state of Colorado. I wasn't supposed to see it. I had walked into the county records office for a mundane reason, to request a copy of my birth certificate so I could finalize a loan. But what I got was a death certificate. My name. My date of birth. My social security number. Cause of death, cardiac arrest. Signed and stamped. Dated precisely 2 weeks after I'd left my ex-husband, Daniel. The clerk's face turned pale when I asked, "Can I see that again?" That's the moment I stopped breathing. Because if the system believed I was dead, someone made that happen. And I think I know who. The thing is, I rebuilt my life after Daniel. Moved states. Changed careers. Started over with quiet routines and late-night herbal tea. But this felt like someone reaching out from the past and whispering, "You were never supposed to survive." I didn't call the police. Not right away. I needed time to think. Time to understand. Because the more I stared at that death certificate, the more a part of me remembered how Daniel used to say, "If I can't have you alive, no one will." I thought it was a joke back then. A stupid, possessive comment from a man who loved too hard and too wrong. But now I realize something terrifying. He meant it. And if I'm officially dead, it means someone is living my life without me. Or worse, someone is coming to finish what they started. I met Daniel Holloway when I was 23, freshly graduated and burning with dreams of publishing my poetry. He was 10 years older, a rising star in Denver's real estate scene. Charismatic, generous, and always 2 steps ahead of everyone in the room. When he looked at you, it felt like the sun was shining directly on your skin. He said all the right things. Did all the right things. Until he didn't. Back then, I thought it was fate. He said we were twin flames, souls bound by something cosmic. We moved fast. Within 6 months, I was living in his modern glass house tucked in the hills, and within a year, I had taken his last name. But love, as I learned, has many faces. At first, it was subtle. A critical word here, a disapproving glance there. My wardrobe was too childish, my writing too depressing, my friends a bad influence. I thought I was just adjusting to married life. But slowly, my world became smaller, just Daniel and me. He isolated me, chipped away at my confidence, and twisted my self-worth until I couldn't recognize my own thoughts anymore. He never hit me, not once. That would have made things easier. Daniel was smarter than that. His weapon of choice was control, calculated silence, gaslighting, and the slow poisoning of my reality. I stayed for 3 years. The Claire that left him was a ghost. I had no money, no career, no home. Just a bag of clothes, a burner phone, and the help of my old college roommate, Leah McMillan, the only person I had secretly kept in touch with. She wired me money, booked me a bus out of Denver, and promised never to tell a soul where I'd gone. And she kept her promise. For years. In Oregon, I reclaimed my name, Claire Bennett. Started over. I got a job as a librarian in a sleepy town outside Portland. Lived simply. Wrote again. Slept without fear. Sometimes I'd Google Daniel just to see if he was still out there, charming the world. He was. A few new listings under his company name, photos with civic leaders, a fresh Instagram account with curated photos of morning coffee and motivational quotes. If you didn't know better, you'd think he was a man living a perfectly ordinary life. I never saw a wedding ring. No girlfriend. No hints of scandal. Just, a perfect life, untouched. That always unsettled me. I never filed a police report when I left. Never looked back. But now I can't ignore it. Because if Daniel declared me dead, it means he still thinks I belong to him. Or worse, he never really let go. And suddenly, I'm not sure if leaving was the end of the story, or just the beginning. 2 days after I found my own death certificate, I got a call from Leah. Her voice trembled, barely above a whisper. "Claire, did you come back to Denver?" I froze. "What are you talking about?" "There's a woman. She walked into my clinic this morning. Same voice. Same hair. Same smile. She said her name was Claire Holloway." Leah paused. "She said she was you." My stomach dropped. "She asked about me, said we were old friends. But Claire, she had your old ID. Your old social. Your face." It felt like the world tilted on its axis. "What did you do?" "I told her I hadn't heard from you in years. That you'd disappeared." Her voice cracked. She believed me. But she gave me this look. Like she knew she was testing me. Goosebumps prickled my arms. My fingers clenched around the phone. "Where is she now?" "Gone. But she left a card. Said she'd be in touch." A silence passed between us. My breathing shallow. My thoughts racing. Someone was pretending to be me. Not just stealing my name, they were walking in my skin. And they knew exactly who to visit first. Daniel. It had to be him. Only he had access to my old identity. My documents. My signature. He always joked about how easy it was to fix records when you had friends in the right offices. I never thought he was serious. Now I wasn't so sure. I went to the mirror, staring at myself like I needed to confirm I was real. If someone had filed my death, who had taken my place? More importantly, why? And then I remembered something chilling. The last thing Daniel ever said to me, on the night I slipped out of his house in the dark, was this. "You think you're leaving, Claire. You can't disappear. Not from me. If you go, I'll just build a better version of you." I thought he meant emotionally. I didn't think he meant literally. I booked a flight to Denver that night. I didn't tell Leah. Didn't tell anyone. I packed a carry-on, wore a baseball cap low over my face, and kept my eyes down. Every second in the airport felt like I was crawling through a dream I couldn't wake up from. By the time I stepped outside the terminal at Denver International, the cold wind felt like a slap across the face. The city looked the same, wide streets, modern buildings, and the looming shadows of the Rockies. But everything felt wrong. Like I'd entered a version of my life where someone had rewritten the rules without telling me. I didn't go to my old neighborhood. Too risky. Instead, I checked into a modest motel on Colfax Avenue and rented a car under a fake name. My hands shook as I scrolled through Daniel's real estate company website. His face was still there, handsome as ever, eyes as unreadable as polished glass. There was something new, though. A photo on the About Us page. A woman standing beside Daniel in a tailored navy dress. Hair tucked behind one ear. Hand resting gently on his shoulder. The caption read, "Claire Holloway, Partner and Director of Communications." It was her. The imposter. I stared at her features. Same jawline. Same green eyes. Even the same tiny scar above the right brow, the one I got from falling off my bike in second grade. My body went cold. This wasn't just identity theft. This was duplication. But who was she? How did she know every detail? The scar. The posture. The name. It wasn't just that she was pretending to be me, she was being perfectly me. Better, even. She was polished, poised, powerful. I was none of those things when I left Daniel. That night, I drove past my old house in the hills. His Tesla sat in the driveway, just like always. The porch light was on. Curtains drawn. And then the front door opened. Out she came, the new Claire. She walked with ease. Her smile serene. Holding a glass of red wine like she'd lived there forever. She turned her head slightly, looking out into the dark. For a horrifying second, I thought she was looking directly at me. I ducked down. My heart pounded in my throat. I stayed crouched behind the wheel, waiting. Watching. She walked inside. The door closed. My pulse wouldn't slow down. Not even hours later when I was back at the motel, scrubbing my face raw and pacing in bare feet. This was real. She was me. And Daniel, he had replaced me. But why? Power? Obsession? Revenge? The truth gnawed at my insides. I thought I knew Daniel, but clearly, I had underestimated the darkness within him. So I did what any sane woman would do in an insane world. I dug. I started with public records, mortgage filings, social security databases. My old number had been reactivated. My credit report showed purchases, designer clothing, a Lexus, a subscription to a language learning app. I hadn't lived like that. Not even when I was actually married to him. Then came the bombshell. I found a business registration filed 6 months ago, Claire Bennett Designs, LLC, a boutique home staging company registered under my name, my birthday, my fake Oregon address. The bank account attached to it was flush with cash. That company was mine. At least on paper. And someone was cashing in on it. Someone who looked like me. Talked like me. Smiled like me. But wasn't me. This wasn't just about Daniel replacing me as a partner. This was about erasing me and building something he could own completely. A better, more obedient version. One he could parade around and mold to his perfect specifications. He hadn't just wanted control. He wanted creation. And I had the sinking feeling this new Claire didn't stumble into the role on accident. She chose it. But what I couldn't understand, what haunted me, was how. How had someone taken every part of me, my life, my past, my quirks, and worn it like a custom-made mask? Unless Daniel had been preparing her all along. I was digging through public court records in the Denver Law Library, somewhere no one would think to look for me, when I found it. A sealed case file, recently closed. Plaintiff, Claire Holloway. Defendant, Claire Bennett. My hands trembled as I printed the docket summary. It was brief, clinical, but one line hit me like a freight train. Court rules in favor of Claire Holloway. Claire Bennett found to be impersonating a deceased identity. My world collapsed in one sentence. The court had ruled that I was the fraud. That she, the woman Daniel had groomed, trained, or maybe even found and remade, was the real Claire. That I was the copy. And worse. There was testimony. From Daniel. From a psychologist. From witnesses who claimed Claire Bennett had suffered a mental breakdown after losing her husband and had been confused about her identity. My identity. I sat there stunned, blinking at the page as if reading it wrong. But no, this was deliberate. They had turned the truth inside out. Daniel hadn't just replaced me, he'd erased me legally. Convincingly. And that woman? She was playing the role of her life, while I was cast as a delusional imposter. My heartbeat roared in my ears. This wasn't about obsession anymore. This was about power. Daniel hadn't needed to kill me physically, he'd done something worse. He'd destroyed my reality. And I'd let him, by walking away quietly. By not reporting him. By hiding instead of fighting. But now I knew. I couldn't run anymore. I had to become something else, something he'd never expect. Because if he'd rewritten my life, I was going to burn the whole story down. For 3 days, I disappeared into the cracks of Denver. Cheap motels, laundromats, diners with blinking signs. I was Claire Bennett again, but this time, a ghost in the city where I once lived. But ghosts see everything. I started watching them, Daniel and the new Claire. She followed a perfect routine, morning runs through Cheeseman Park, coffee at the same downtown cafe, boardroom meetings at Daniel's firm. I watched from shadows, camera in hand, recording everything. The way she smiled. The way she waved. The way she laughed, my laugh. And Daniel, he hadn't changed. Still perfectly pressed, perfectly polite. But I could see it in the way he glanced at her when she wasn't looking, this need to control, to calculate. I knew that look too well. That was the look he wore when he wanted to break someone without ever raising his voice. I didn't have a plan yet. But I had something better. Leah. I met her in secret at a trailhead just outside Boulder. She hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. "Claire, you look like hell." "I'm not dead yet," I said with a bitter smile. "But give him time." I showed her the court documents. The photos. The company files. At first, she was stunned. Then she got angry. "Claire, this is insane. You have enough to go to the media. Hell, even the FBI." I shook my head. "I'm not a victim anymore, Leah. If I go through the system, he'll twist it like he always does. I need to break him from the inside." She looked at me, worry flickering in her eyes. "How?" I hesitated. "I'm going to make her doubt who she is." The first time I approached fake Claire, I wore a blonde wig and aviators. We bumped into each other outside her Pilates studio. She dropped her water bottle. I handed it back. Our eyes met. "Thank you," she said, smiling. Her voice, it was exactly like mine. "You're welcome. Claire." She blinked. "Do I know you?" "No," I said. "But I know you." Then I walked away. That was enough. By the end of the week, she changed her route. She was looking over her shoulder. The second time, I mailed her an old photo, me and Daniel on our honeymoon, back when I still believed he loved me. I circled her own face in red. Wrote, "You'll never be her." She must have shown Daniel. Because that night, he posted a cryptic Instagram quote. "Some ghosts need to stay buried." Game on. I studied her every move. She flinched when her name was called. She paused longer in mirrors. One time, I saw her just standing outside a boutique, staring at her reflection like she didn't know what was real anymore. The cracks were forming. But it wasn't enough. I needed her to question her origin. So I found the woman I thought was long gone, Dr. Nancy Kerr, the therapist Daniel made me see for anxiety back when he still called it love. I told her the truth. Everything. I expected disbelief. But she listened. At the end of my story, she leaned back and whispered, "You're not the first woman to come to me about Daniel." That hit me like a sledgehammer. How many? 3 others. One tried to take her life. One was institutionalized. One vanished. I swallowed the bile in my throat. "And you never said anything?" "I didn't have proof." "And he's well connected." "But I'll testify now. I'll help you." It was the first time in years I felt hope. With Leah and Dr. Kerr on my side, I launched Phase 2. I hacked into Claire Holloway's email. Not hard, since Daniel had used the same recovery protocols for everything. I started sending anonymous tips to herself. "Why can't you remember college? Check the scar above your eyebrow, does it line up with childhood photos? Do you know what your mother's voice sounded like?" She started unraveling. Fast. Public photos stopped. Business events postponed. Daniel looked tense, jaw tighter, smile faker. Then one night, it happened. I followed her to a hotel parking lot, where she sat in her Lexus, sobbing into her hands. For 20 minutes. I wanted to feel satisfied. But instead, I felt hollow. Because she wasn't the villain. She was the product. Daniel had taken a woman, likely broken, lost, needing purpose, and turned her into a carbon copy of me. He gave her my trauma, my voice, my memories. She believed she was me because he made her believe it. And suddenly, my revenge shifted. She wasn't my enemy. He was. It was raining the night I confronted Daniel. Fitting, really. The sky weeping like it knew what was coming. I had arranged everything perfectly. A fake business meeting invitation sent to his email, posing as a potential investor for one of his luxury condo developments. The location. The same glass-walled penthouse we used to call home. The place where he once whispered sweet things that turned sour in time. He arrived alone. Of course, he did. He was always confident no one could outmaneuver him. I watched from the shadows of the dimly lit room as he stepped inside, glancing around with that controlled expression I knew so well. Expensive coat. Tailored shirt. Not a single crease. His life was immaculate. Until I stepped out. "Hello, Daniel." He froze. I watched it register. First confusion. Then disbelief. Then, for the first time in years, fear. Claire. The real one. He let out a breath and smiled, slick and slow. "You're alive. More than you ever expected me to be." He stepped forward, like he thought he still had power here. "You look well. Oregon suits you. Not as much as my name suits your little puppet." He sighed, annoyed now. "You don't understand. She needed something to live for. I gave her purpose. Identity. You left a mess, Claire. She cleaned it up. You replaced me." He smirked. "I perfected you." A flicker of something broke loose inside me. I moved closer, heart hammering in my ears. "You stole my life. Declared me dead. Had me erased. What kind of man does that?" He didn't answer. Because he knew the truth. "You broke me," I whispered. "But I rebuilt. Quietly. Carefully. And now I'm here to burn down the castle you built on my bones." His smile faded. "What do you want?" I pulled out a flash drive and tossed it on the glass coffee table. Every fake file. Every photo. The court transcript. Witness statements. Identity theft. Testimonies from your victims. Yours won't be the first name in lights, but it'll be the last. His expression changed, tight, calculating. "You won't survive this war, Claire. I already have." He lunged toward me, maybe to grab the drive, maybe to scare me, but that's when the door opened. And she walked in. Her. Claire Holloway. The other Claire. Wearing my face. My nervous smile. She stared between us, the color draining from her skin. "Daniel," she whispered. "What is this?" I turned to her slowly. "I'm you. The real you. And I'm sorry you were dragged into this." She blinked rapidly, stepping back. "That's not true. I am Claire." "You were someone before him," I said gently. "Someone broken, maybe. But not me. He made you believe that lie." She looked to Daniel for confirmation. He didn't deny it. He didn't say a word. Just clenched his fists and stared as the cracks finally spread beyond his control. "I found my death certificate," I said, louder now. "Signed by a doctor who never saw my body. Filed by a husband who wanted a blank slate. You are that slate. But you're not a monster. He is." She stumbled back, horror dawning on her face like sunrise after a long, cold night. You lied to me, she said to him. He stepped toward her, still calm. You were lost. I gave you clarity. You gave me a delusion. And then she did the bravest thing I never expected. She picked up the flash drive. And walked toward me. I don't know who I was before this, she said softly. But I know who I won't be anymore. She handed it to me. Then turned to Daniel. I'm done. And with that, she walked out, heels clicking like a gavel down a marble hallway. Daniel didn't follow. He just stared at the closed door. I walked past him slowly, savoring the moment. No more ghosts, Daniel. He didn't move. Didn't stop me. Because for the first time, he'd lost. The morning after our confrontation, I sat in a courtroom, not as a plaintiff or defendant, but as Claire Bennett, survivor. Leah was beside me, her hand gripping mine tight. Dr. Kerr sat behind us, composed and calm, prepared to testify. The courtroom was quiet, humming with anticipation. Word had gotten out. The real estate mogul with a squeaky clean image was being accused of one of the most bizarre identity fraud schemes in state history. And this time, I had proof. The answer is simple. Because if I had, he would have won. Because my story was never his to rewrite. Because my name matters. And for every woman who's been gaslit, ghosted, erased, or replaced, I wanted to leave a mark that couldn't be undone. Daniel thought he was playing God, breaking one woman to build another. But what he didn't realize was that ghosts don't rest easy. They linger. They remember. And sometimes, they come back. Not for vengeance. But for truth. If you're reading this, if you've ever questioned your reality, your worth, your voice, know this. No one has the right to steal your story. No one has the right to bury you alive. I found my own death certificate once. But I'm here to tell you. I'm still alive. And this time, I'm never disappearing again.